Thoughts on Xbox Ally and ROG Xbox Ally X? Well, I'll start with this. It's not an Xbox. Can we just get that one thing out of the way so that people are not confused? This thing is not an Xbox. You cannot play GTA 6 on it. You cannot play your Xbox games that you've already purchased on your Series S or Series X on it. It's pretty simple for those of you that don't know or are just now finding out because of the Xbox Ally and Ally X. The system is actually a handheld PC, much like the current ROG Ally. This is the original. This is what they're basing this whole thing off of. If these things didn't get popular enough, I don't think Xbox would have actually even tried to market a handheld device. But because of the Steam Deck and the original Ally and the Legion Go and a lot of other PC handhelds, we are now getting a collab between Xbox and ROG, and they're bringing a new iteration of this device here, the ROG Ally, except it's got an Xbox overhaul overlay all over it. If you know absolutely nothing about handheld PCs or what kind of games they play or how they function or how it is that a PC works in such a small form factor, I have plenty of videos covering a lot of these handhelds and a lot of games running on these handhelds that people might find interesting if they're interested in getting the new Xbox ROG Ally, if you're interested in knowing if it can even run a game like Call of Duty. I've spent plenty of time testing and playing modern games, especially games like Call of Duty on these systems, even the Steam Deck. So if you're interested in that, I'd suggest taking a look through the channel and maybe you can get an idea of what this system will be like. So they first showed this thing off during the Xbox Games Showcase, and it was also previously leaked before they showed it here, and all of the leaks ended up being true. This looks like literally they took the concept art, put it in a printer, and it just came out. It reminds me of when Xbox 720 mock-ups and things were all over Google, or you would look up Xbox 720 and you'd get like some crazy AI looking handheld, which at the time probably wasn't AI generated, but yeah, this one literally looks like one of those. Your games, seamless play. This isn't a cloud gaming device like the PlayStation Portal. Stream from the cloud, but you can stream from the cloud, but you can also download games natively and play them off of the actual device. Also, this new UI is probably the most exciting part about this whole thing. This is really where they're going to sell you freedom of Windows, power of Xbox. So it is Windows 11, but this thing is supposedly going to have all of the background unnecessary Windows 11 stuff turned off, and it's going to give you a more upfront gaming experience, something that you would see on the Steam Deck with SteamOS. You load it up and it puts you in your games menu. You don't have to go and say no to Microsoft Office or all of those other programs on Windows that are pretty annoying and bloaty and things like that. ROG Xbox Ally, AMD Ryzen Z2A, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that is the Steam Deck chip, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of storage. The Xbox Ally should be relatively cheaper than the Xbox Ally X because this one is using the AMD Ryzen AI Z2 Extreme, 24 gigabytes of RAM, and 1 terabyte of storage. So what do I think about the design? It looks hideous. I think it looks both hideous and almost kind of charming. It kind of reminds me of like Nintendo controllers, like a 64 controller, a GameCube controller-esque feel on a handheld. It's almost like the edges blend out of being a normal ROG Ally and then just convert into this Xbox controller. The triggers look way more comfortable, the sticks look way more comfortable. Overall, the system looks a lot more comfortable, but it does look a lot bulkier and bigger and just not as sleek anymore. And this is, you got to think too that this is probably going to be hard to like carry around. Maybe not in the sense of like taking it with you somewhere, but it's just going to take up more space than the original Ally probably would, which is a deciding factor. Even when I travel, my most recent trip, I took the ROG Ally over the Legion Go because it's going to save me a little bit more space in my bag. I don't know. Especially the normal Xbox Ally looks more toy-like, but it also looks a lot more Xbox-like. The Ally X, because of the colorway and because we know that the Ally X currently is like the more high-end one, just feels like the more premium device overall. I do like the dedicated Xbox button. Crazy that this brand is literally the head turner for this device. Thing's pretty cool, but it's also not something we don't already have. Sure, it's an upgrade from the Z1 Extreme that is currently in a lot of handhelds with this new AI Z2 Extreme, but overall the device is something that we already have. It's a handheld PC running Windows that can play your Xbox games. And a lot of people only now know that because of this device, because of the name Xbox, because of the brand that it is, because it has an Xbox dedicated button. People will now pay attention, not only this device, but a lot of other handheld PCs. They might even go buy one that's currently out there because they're going to realize this as well, that this is not the next generation of Xbox. This is not a portable Series S. Instead, it's a PC, and we already have a lot of handheld PCs that can play our Xbox games. It is going to be nice seeing the actual new performance and this new UI that hopefully ends up going over to all the other handhelds that have Windows on them. That would make the current selections even more viable if we can have this better UI that cuts out all the bloat and things from Windows. That might even better the performance of the current devices, and because of these devices being a lot cheaper than this one might be, it might make you want one of the older devices, especially if you plan on using this thing for not the most powerful or demanding games. Like the Steam Deck is going strong, and it's probably the weakest one in terms of power, but because of the OS and because of updates and things like that, it's still holding up pretty well. So the UI is called the Xbox Full Screen Experience. Power on directly into the Xbox Full Screen Experience for a dedicated gaming experience inspired and optimized specifically for handheld gaming. So yeah, just let us use this Xbox Full Screen Experience on other devices. On my Legion Go, that would be awesome. Game bar, we've already got game bar. I mean, the UI itself looks a lot like the Xbox app on PC already, but loading straight into it and cutting out all the bloatware is really what the game changer here is. Aggregated library, access supported games anywhere you go from Xbox and other PC game storefronts. So you can have Steam and Epic also integrated within this UI, which is great. All of your games in one spot. Bring all your game saves, add-ons, and achievements along with games that are Xbox Play Anywhere. So yeah, this is basically, if you have a PC and you have Game Pass, you can carry that experience with you on the go. And this is not, again, going to play games you've purchased on your Xbox console, and don't expect to get Xbox console exclusives or games that only run on your Xbox on here, because it won't have the same amount of games. The PC library is different from the console library. I want to emphasize that because I still think people will be confused. These buttons or these triggers look phenomenal. We've got 2 USB-C ports. One of these is probably for eGPU setups and things like that. Of course, the Xbox button, which we've already addressed. A 7-inch display, which I think is an interesting decision, but maybe it was just easier because they've already got so many of these lying around for their current devices, the Ally X and the ROG Ally Original. I don't think the screen is going to be any different from the other two. It's got the Gorilla Glass Victus and the 120Hz FHD display. So, I mean, the Ally screen is already a great screen. It's also anti-reflective. It's a great screen. So for them to use it on here doesn't really make me mad. I just would have loved to see, maybe the cheaper option could have been the 7-inch option, and then the Ally X could have had a bigger screen. The 8 to 8.8 inch range for screens on these handhelds is just so much of a difference compared to 7, especially when you've got these bezels on there. The Switch 2, for example, the upgrade to an 8-inch screen is so appreciated. It looks so much better and a lot more immersive when you're actually playing games. Same with Legion Go and its 8.8-inch screen. Here's the spec sheet on paper, the Ally versus Ally X. Yeah, we've already kind of gone through the different types. The Ally X seems to have An additional display port, it looks like. Or am I tripping? Why is this explanation longer? Type-C with DisplayPort 2.1, and then the other one, the cheaper one, has Type-C with DisplayPort 1.4. Interesting. Thunderbolt 3.0. This one doesn't say anything about Thunderbolt. Interesting. So for those of you looking into eGPU setups, there is going to be a difference here. I don't play my handhelds on an eGPU setup simply because I have an actual desktop PC, but I know there's people out there that will plan on using this thing as their everyday setup and have a more powerful setup when connected to a graphics card via eGPU. 65-watt charger stand, and we know now as well that the Ally X, the current Ally X, has one of the better battery lives when it comes to all of these handhelds. Even then, it's not like super long, depending on what you're playing, obviously, and what TDP you're using, and all of that will determine how long your battery life lasts. It is more comforting when it comes to this device, knowing that the current Ally X has arguably the best battery life. That means you can assume that the battery life will be at least decent on this thing. But yeah, here it is, the ROG Xbox Ally and ROG Xbox Ally X. I do feel like this device is a bridge before we inevitably get some sort of Xbox handheld in the future, an actual Xbox handheld that will run Xbox games the same as your console. Maybe in the future we get an Xbox hybrid console like the Switch, or an added handheld to a console family from Xbox. I don't know. But this is still a PC, so there's going to be things you miss out that the consoles offer, but there's also going to be a lot more that you gain because it's a PC. I mean, we're going to be seeing Steam live on an Xbox app, and you know, there's a rumored Steam application or something coming to Xbox, so maybe this is also a little teaser for what inevitably is coming in the future. Regardless of what I think about the device itself, you know, it being Xbox, it having these weird controllers, I don't care what it looks like, what it sounds like, anything. But the bigger picture here is that this is a very important device. This is a testament that goes to show that handhelds specifically are still wanted by people. Even if people didn't know that the PlayStation Portal was a streaming only device, they still view that thing as a handheld, and it still sold out and people still wanted it, right? That shows you right there, people still want these handhelds. Then we have all of the handheld PCs, which felt pretty niche for some time now. Then we get this thing, which brings the handheld niche into a bigger spotlight and sort of into the eyes of the mainstream crowd. The Legion Go, the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, these didn't really sell out crazy, kind of like the Switch 2 just did. But that's because, one, they're a lot more expensive than the average consoles, and a lot of people just didn't know about them. By putting this Xbox brand on these handhelds, a lot more people are going to find out about these, and that makes me happy. Because I've spent a long time talking about these sort of devices and sort of having the confidence that this is the direction the industry would inevitably go in and have devices that were for the mainstream, and now it's starting to happen. I'm starting to see the payout, and I'm glad that my confidence was right. Sure, handheld gaming is still a niche, but it's growing and changing the landscape for the better, for the future, and it's just really exciting. So those are my thoughts on the Xbox Ally X and Xbox Ally, and just my opinion on where handheld gaming stands right now. It's really cool. It's really exciting stuff. I may even end up getting this Xbox Ally X because it is such an important device for the landscape of handheld PC gaming and just gaming in general. Hopefully you guys found this video informative or entertaining, and as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.